feeling myself, but I stay in my lane. I know you thinking you nice, but you sounding the same. He need to switch up his flow, but I know that he ain't. Maybe he want to and probably can't. He talk a lot, but ain't saying a word. He's 16, sounding like he be lacing his herb. Reggie Rock told me time to just focus and spit. Quit worrying about the niggas abandoning shit. I dropped broken and they told me quit biting your tongue. The way you writing sounded like you forgot where you from. Say you from the hood, but you sound like a minister now. Yeah, I could take it there, but shit, I just like how this sound. I should address some of this drama, but letting it go. Shit, I can't keep playing with you niggas, I'm getting too old. The last words Bone told me I never forget. Quit playing with this music and do it to death. Shit, I came back.
You're now watching the End of the Bench podcast, Build and Destroy, hosted by your man, H-Rap B. Welcome back. This is your man H-Rap coming at you live and direct. Thank you. This is the End of the Bench, Build and Destroy, where I attempt to build up the community, destroy the lies and the propaganda that surround the community. Thank you for tuning in again. If you're watching via YouTube, I need you to hit that thumbs up button, subscribe, tell a friend, share. It is greatly appreciated if you're watching via Facebook or via www.theendofthebench.com. That is www.theendofthebench.com. I need you to still hit that thumbs up button, hit the like button, share, subscribe, comment, be a part of the show. Thank you. Again, I always tell you, it is not a dissertation. It is a conversation. It's a conversation about what we're doing, what we need to do, and where we need to be in this community of ours. As usual, I want to salute my parents. Without my parents, there is no The End of the Bench. There is no Build and Destroy. They created me, so I created it. It's inspired by my mother literally 13 years ago, probably 13 years ago today, or within the last 7 days. 13 years ago, we had a conversation. She told me to do it. Here I am. I'm doing it. I didn't do it 13 years ago, but you understand where I'm coming from. I want to salute everybody connected to the Williams and the Pollard family. Those are my parents' original last names. I am Brian Williams. This is I am H-Rap B. That is the pseudonym. Thank you for tuning in. Today, it's going to be an interesting day as usual. What I'm going to do is I'm going to introduce you to some information as usual. Hopefully the information is beneficial to you. Hopefully it'll motivate you to do something to advance the community, because without you, the community cannot advance. And that's just the bottom line. We are stuck in a rut. We are stuck in a social rut, and it is killing us. Oh, sorry about that, people. We're stuck in a social rut. We are under attack. We are definitely under attack by the powers that be, or the United States federal government, or the Senate, the governors, the mayors, or whoever is in charge of making things fair in this country. We are under attack by those people. There is no way to whitewash it. There is no way to soft soap it. It is what it is. But when you're under attack, you can either fold and succumb to the pressure, or you can fight or flight. Those are the only options you have. At this point, if you ask me, we've been in flight mode for at least 50, I'm 52, soon to be 53. So that means for 58 years, we've been in flight mode. We allow the people who run in the United States federal government to put us in flight mode simply because we fell for the okie doke. See, in my personal opinion, we hear all these tropes. We hear these quotes by people like the great ancestor Harriet Tubman. I could have freed, and they congratulated her on freeing a lot of her people. She said, I could have freed a lot more had they known they were slaves. You have people saying that in the community and throughout the diaspora all the time, but they don't realize what they're saying, in my personal opinion. Then you have people quoting the great ancestor, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., when he told the now ancestor Harry Belafonte, I'm afraid that I've made a mistake. I've integrated my people into a burning house. The burning house is the United States of America. Love it or hate it. Chris Rock made a joke once. He said, the United States of America is like that uncle who molested you but paid your way through college. And that's what it is. In essence, when you're black in America, that's what it is. United States of America is a great country for capitalism, to make money, make haste, make ends meet. But when it comes to being fair and righteous, it's not. Let's just get the nonsense out the way. We are under attack. And if it wasn't, we wouldn't be under attack. Are we the only people under attack? No. But we're the only people without a foundation, without an established foundation. We do have an established foundation, but we choose to start our history when people tell us in 1619 they were bought the first Africans over here and they converted them into slaves. And that's where we start our history. Well, how about 1819? We're 1619 BC. How about that? How about 5000 BC? How about when we were creating irrigation throughout the Sahara Desert so you can grow plants in a desert? How about when we were creating mathematics? We were creating tools to write with. How about those times? Let's start there. See, if you start with in what I like to call the dark ages, then you know anything that gives you a flicker of light looks like progress, but it's not. Anytime you start your history, just imagine this. All the great memories you have in your life throughout your childhood and your adulthood, we're going to start your life from the last time you got beat up. We're not going to talk about everything that was good before you had that fight, or we're going to talk about from the day you got beat up until today. You miss out on a lot in your life. Or just, how about the last time you stubbed your toe? It don't even have to be as traumatic as an actual fight. How about the last time you stubbed your toe? How about that? How about we start our lives from there? The last painful situation you had, start your life from there. Whether you bumped your elbow, bumped your head, getting in the car, something like that. We're going to start from there, and then we're going to go. Your life wouldn't be that great. You miss out on a whole lot. And that's what we've allowed people to do. I was talking to my man Mo this week. Mo made one of the greatest analogies I've ever heard in my life. He said, if you could convince a pit bull that he's a cat, you never have to be afraid of the pit bull again. And that's what I'm talking about. We've allowed America to take the pit bull out of the black community. And it's not even a cat, it's a field mouse. It's a field mouse, a baby field mouse. That's what they reduced us to. And you can take offense to it. Some people will, some people won't. Some people understand the analogy. And for the people who do, thank you. And the people who don't, thank you too, because you're proving my point. Look, I don't really want to get on here and get to preaching, but I'm sorry, I have to. Look, we do a lot of complaining in our community. We're on social media. We talk about the sisters. Oh, these black women ain't ... We talk about the brothers. See, these brothers ain't ... We talk about our children. Our children, these kids are ... Why do we do that? Why? Look, most of the people in this country that look like me, or part of my community, we understand we're under attack. So you do understand every time you put on Facebook that is being monitored by the people that most people in our community would consider our oppressors, our colonizers, the people who holding us back. So what you're going to do is load the gun and tell them how to shoot at you, which is raw dog, buck naked foolishness. It truly is. You may not see it that way, but think about it. If you were in a fight with someone, why would you tell them, well, I can't really see out my left eye that well? Because then at that point, you've given them the fight. So if I have an issue with black women, I might tell, like the dude who just came in the thing, I got my man Big Illinois, Big Mo. Together we break the chains. And my homegirl, Latoya, in the building. Thank you. It's always good to see you guys. Thank you for consistently supporting me. I might tell Mo and Big Illinois, but I'm not going to put it on Facebook. Just like look, when we talk about family business, how about this? As a collective community, let's make it a rule that Don't talk about anything on Facebook that you wouldn't tell that you were doing with your significant other. Would you get on Facebook and tell what you and your significant other did last night in the bed? So why are you telling people what the problems are in our community? See, a lot of times you think it's common knowledge, but it's not. What's going on in our community is not common knowledge until you put it on social media, until you put it on Twitter, until you put it on TikTok, until you express your disdain with it. Now you got the whole world debating on what's going on in our community. And whether you want to believe it or not, that's how they grade you. That's why when you hear somebody got shot in Chicago, most people don't think a white person did the shooting. They did a black person did the shoot. Some of the South Side of Chicago is crazy. What that really is a sentiment for black people in Chicago are crazy. Because when you say South Side of Chicago, the rest of the world, they don't know it's a lot of Latinos on the South Side. They don't know there's a lot of white people on the South Side. They don't know it's a lot of Asians on the South Side. They just think black people on the South Side hurting each other. And because you write on social media, we have to do better. You've taken ownership of violence, of the definition of violence being attached to your community. And how foolish is that? That's extremely foolish. But we've embraced it. When you see on TV somebody got shot, more than likely, let's just be honest, you look right at our community like, man, we got to do better than that. And I've mentioned several times on the program that me and my man Big Illinois, when he used to do his podcast, hopefully he'll come back soon. We looked it up. And that was a couple years ago. And there's this one 4th of July, 70 people got shot. And everybody thought it was all us. And it's primarily because we will own it. We have to get out of the mentality of owning trauma, owning pain, owning disdain, owning violence, removing these tropes like black on black crime. There's no such thing as black on black crime. Up until including the moment you tell me what the Asian on Asian, because I didn't, when that Asian man 3 months ago shot up a couple of those Asian shops, I didn't hear about Asian on Asian crime. I've never heard on when you talk about the mob, Italian on Italian crime, the Jewish mafia, never heard Jewish on Jewish crime. I never heard LGBTQ on LGBTQ crime. I've never heard of any of these things besides when it comes to us, because we're foolish enough to accept those labels. Do black people hurt other black people? You're damn right we do. Because crime is a proximity thing. You don't go across town to rob people because it's harder to get home and get home safely. You rob people who are close to you. You don't get into an argument with people who live on the other side of town. Like if you live in LA, you don't go across the 405 freeway to get into it with the East Siders. No, you stay on the west side of the freeway and get into the West Siders. You live on the west side of Chicago. You don't go to the south side to start no fight. You're going to get into it with somebody on the west side. Even if it's just happenstance, you're not going to get into it. It's just the way we're wired. We traditionally get into it. You don't get, when you stay in the house, when you were younger, you didn't get into it with your cousins. You got into it with your siblings. Unless your cousins was there, then you get into it with your cousins. Why isn't it Illinois on Illinois crime, Indiana on Indiana crime, Michigan on Michigander crime? But again, it's a picture painted, and we just fall right in line with the picture. So what we have to do is recreate our own narrative. We have to put ourselves, visualize success and put yourself in the picture. And that's how you do it. That's definitely how you do it. But if you're willing to allow yourself to be labeled, you can't get mad when people label you. Is it a lot of room for improvement in our community? It's a lot of room for improvement throughout humanity. Do you only concern yourself with the community? Okay, cool. This is why you tuned in today. Because unlike a lot of people who get on and they make a lot of complaints, I try to offer solutions to the issues. We're under attack. And remember, just a second ago, I mentioned 1619, and I mentioned 1619 BC. And throughout the time you've been listening to me, I've mentioned historical dates throughout the history of the world pertaining to our community. The date that's under attack now is 1965, the Civil Rights Act. Desegregation has been the order of the day. It was the order of the day. And what we did was, what people did who control the country, they realized it is a company. Let's get that straight. United States of America is a business, but that's neither here nor there. The United States of America realized that it would be more beneficial to allow us a piece of the pie so we can give them our money right back than to stay segregated. Because if we do like the Asians and stay in Chinatown, or we do like the Latinos and stay, if you're in Chicago, stay on 26th Street, or you stay in Humboldt Park. By the way, if you're in Chicago, 26th Street is the second largest business district in the city of Chicago. And our Mexican brothers are killing it over there. See, they understood that because of the oppression, because of the way they made us feel, we will give away our money. So, and they saw it, and they know that we live in opulence. We love to show it, and it's nothing wrong with showing it. There's nothing wrong with showing it, but when you realize somebody loves to show it, you allow this. If they're left out in the spending, they won't be able. Them showing it is the key to their success, and they'll give away all their money, and that's what we've been doing. Look. At one point, you used to get your clothes made in the community because you couldn't go on Michigan Avenue. You couldn't go to Marshall Fields at the time. It's Macy's now. You couldn't go to Marshall Fields. They weren't going to serve you. So you had somebody in the neighborhood make you a slick suit. Or you went to Alleganza or wherever. You went to a black person and they made you a tailor-made suit. And for some reason, we got away from that. Because now I can go to Marshall Fields. But just because you have the right to spend your money in other communities does not mean you have to. It does not mean you have to spend your money there. And a lot of people are under the impression that if I'm not spending my money at Marshall Fields, I'm not doing it the right way. But tailor-made is the best way because this suit was made for me. Nobody else in the world will have this suit but me. That's the key to style. That's the key to fashion. And they show you this when you watch the shows like the Oscars and the Grammys and all these big time award shows. Everybody has a designer on, but it's a unique dress or suit. So why wouldn't you try to be unique off the rack to know? If you don't know, you don't know. Anybody can get it off the rack. But if you get quality, get it cut to your size. That's when you're doing something. And the reason I'm bringing these things up is while the entire country, well, the vast majority of the country doing everything they can to strip working class people of their rights with us in the crosshairs, what we need to do is realize there's enough people in this country that look like us to support us. And that's without a doubt. There's enough people in this country that look just like me and you to support everything that we do. Think about it like this. Think about it like this, brothers and sisters. The average movie, the good movie makes about $350 million. Average movie ticket, I think, is like $17, $20 now. So if you got 45 million people, let's just say, I don't even want to get ridiculous. Say 25 million people. 25 million people. And you take that by 20, that's $500 million. 25 million people. So if 25 million of us go see Tyler Perry, that's not even half of us. Go see Tyler Perry movie, go see a Spike Lee movie, go see a Ryan Coogler movie. Guess what? They have enough money to continue to bring film and television and plays and things of that nature. So you don't have to go to Hollywood and ask for any money. If 25 million of us support everybody, this music is so negative. But if y'all go find the Erykah Badu's, if y'all go find the Hers, if y'all go find the Kendrick Lamar's, if y'all go find the artistically unique people and stream their music on a daily basis, you got about 25 million streams a day. And then they can make that quality music that you claim that you're looking for. Enough with the excuses. This is how we can fix it. Our schools are not doing what they're supposed to do. Okay, that's cool. And I'm going to talk about that a little later. But we're not getting the funding behind our schools. Well, it's how you fix that. It's this thing called the census. It's coming out in about 6.5 years. You need to talk to each and every person in your family and each and every state in the union and let them know that they need to fill out the census. That's not gonna work. Blah blah blah. Dot dot dot. Because that's what we do well. We complain and then you give people solutions and they say it's not gonna work. All I need you to do is ask that person who tells you it's not gonna work. How do you know? What are you basing your no on? See, it's easy to tell me no because I'm just rap. I'm online and I'm yapping all the time. It's easy to tell me, but I know what the census does. I know how it works. And if you don't, you can tell me why it won't work. Oh, they're never going to give us that. Well, you know what? At one point, there was somebody on one of those death camps that we selectively call plantations, and they said we would never be free, and here we are. I mean, then you get that person go, well, technically we ain't free. Well, we're not in bondage. Well, technically we're in bondage. Well, okay, whatever. It's always that naysayer on the side. It's always that one guy want to squeeze the lemon into the conversation. They want to make it a little better. But at the end of the day, if you don't have answers, don't tell me what is and what is not going to work. There are a lot of things that are going on that are detrimental to our wealth and our mental health right now. The attack on the Civil Rights Act. I told you a year ago, I said, hey, they're going to attack Roe versus Wade. They're going to attack abortion. They're going to attack the Voters' Rights Act. And since they were successful with all those things, and I also told you about separate but equal, the affirmative action. And now they're going to the last mission is to make discrimination the order of the day. See, what you have to understand is if they attack the 1965 Civil Rights Act, do you understand how we would die at an alarming rate? I don't know of any Black-owned hospitals. I know it. So if you remove the Civil Rights Act of 1965, you can show up at the hospital at Rush, or let's just say random act of violence, or automobile accident, and they can refuse you service with no repercussions. See, you hear about Cardi B throwing microphones at people. You hear about the young lady who faked her kidnapping, and you hear about all these distractions, but you don't hear about these kinds of things on the news because they don't, because the people who are in control of the narratives, they don't want you knowing about this. But if the Civil Rights Act of 1965 goes out of place, you do understand the city of Chicago. I live in Chicago. City of Chicago could say, we're not servicing that part of town anymore. Where you live. Right where you live. Oh, well, your home's flooded. So what? We'll get to it when we get to it. We're going to do the white people first, and then we'll figure out how we're going to do it with you. Because that's how your grandparents and your great-grandparents lived in this very city. Hell, that's how some of us living right now in this city, right? So when we are not civically active, we run the risk of falling back into the 40s, and not the 1940s, the 1840s. See, and when you think 1840s, you immediately go to bondage. But what you do is you have an underserved community, because contrary to popular belief, every one of our ancestors was not enslaved. They were not enslaved person. Some of our people were natives to the North American continent, because you had people like Mansa Musa coming over here, and he was just spreading his wealth. You had people like the Folsom people out there in LA. They've been there for 10,000 years. The Folsom people, they were black people. They were there for 10,000 years. You had some people like the Seminole Indians. They were brown, just like me and you. They had kinky hair like me and you. But you don't know those things because you were told you sold one bill of sale. And we're going to get into that a little bit later. And your narrative has been told in one direction, and you took it for granted. It's easier to watch The Wire, Snowfall, and things of that nature and not watch a history documentary, then look it up in a book. They tell you you don't really want to learn. You don't want to do this, and the black people don't really want to learn. They can't learn. But everything, to quote the great Marcus Garvey, everything an African has done, an African can do. So if you invented writing, there's no way you can be allergic to reading and learning. Now, people may not be able to touch you in the way you need to be taught, because I had that issue in school. I was I was above average student. I was a lot above average. I was an intelligent kid, but I got average grades because most instructors didn't know how to get my attention. They didn't know how to challenge me. Some instructors knew how to challenge me, and I excelled in their classes, and I've had great relationships with them to this day. And other instructors just thought I was just lazy. But it wasn't that I was lazy, and it's not that these young people are lazy, but it was they didn't know how to engage with me. It was I had a strong enough mother who had 3 sets of encyclopedia in our house, and every month she told me pick a letter and write a book report. So some of the stuff that they were teaching in class, I had learned 6 months before. So I'm sitting in class like, you're not even teaching that right. So don't think that the people who are in class, quote unquote, underachieving are underachievers. Maybe they know something that you don't. I just need us to understand we're under attack. And when you're under attack, you can either fight or flight. You're going to lay down or you're going to get down. And those are the 2 options. At this point, we've laid down and it's time to stop. I told you guys a few months ago that they're going to go Roe versus Wade. They're going after it. White people are not reproducing at the same rate as Latinos, Blacks, and Asians. This is about to be a minority country. Don't think that's going to mean anything, because South Africa was a minority country as well, and they still ran it. But when you have people who are actively going against you and doing everything they can to destroy you, demoralize you, and dehumanize you, that's when you have to worry. You have to realize that these white evangelical Christians, they claim that they're rolling with Jesus. They claim that they're doing what they're doing in the name of God. But what about God puts an 18-year-old girl who took an abortion pill in jail for 90 days? How does that equate to I'm doing this for God? Now, you might be doing it for yourself. Look, I understand. You may be anti-abortion. I understand that too. I've never been in a situation to where I had to have an abortion, so I don't know if I'm anti-abortion or not. See, your sensibilities change when the gun is pointed towards your head. I'm anti this up until and including the moment it affects me personally. And a lot of people will be that way. Oh, no, I'm not with abortion until your daughter needs one, until your 14-year-old daughter who is doing things that she shouldn't be doing, and you don't want to ruin her life, so we're going to have to do this and we're going to have to pray, right? That's how it goes. In a lot of cases, that's how it goes. You know, like Herschel Walker was running for senator in the great state of Georgia. He was anti-abortion, and then they showed that he had paid for 3. Something as long as the whole world don't know about. How many times have we seen politicians that'll be anti-gay and then we find out they're sneaking around gay, right? A lot of these men have secret lives and things of that nature, but that's neither here nor there. But I want you to understand, if you have the inability to see the humanity in a young person making a mistake and doing what she feels is necessary, that's against what God wants. Well, the last time I checked, God always said, let me handle it, and go and do your thing and let me do my thing. The world is my thing, and let these people do their thing, and then me and them will square up at a later date. But see, this is called a God complex. That's what a God complex looks like, live and direct. When you think you can do the work of the Creator instead of allowing him to do it. Because, everybody know God uses PTO, right? Oh, no, he's never taken any PTO. He ain't taking no breaks. He ain't taking none of that. But these folks think they have the ability to dominate and control everything in the history of the world. They tell lies. They tell history the way they want to tell it. And they put you in what we call in the community a trick bag. But we, as a community, must come out of that trick bag, because put an 18-year-old girl in jail is just first step. You have to go any further to New Bern, Alabama. Why am I bringing up New Bern, Alabama? We're going to talk about Mayor Braxton. Mayor Braxton is the first Black mayor in New Bern, Alabama's history. This is an 85%. This is a Black man who's in the town. It's only like 400 people in the town. 85% Black. How did you have one black mayor in all these years. You know how you did it? Because you had a white power structure. Again, remember I said just because it's a majority minority, it does not mean that the minorities will rule unless they come together and galvanize the community and move in one direction. This is what I'm trying to get us to understand. This is what we have to do. We have to put our differences aside. You know, whether it's LGBTQ, whether it's Nation of Islam, whether it's Jehovah's Witness, whether it's Catholic, Protestant, AME, Baptist, or what have you. We need to put all those things to the side up until and including the moment that we're all billionaires. And then we can debate who's right and wrong. And after we're all billionaires, after we all squared away with life and have zero worries, perfect health, perfect blood pressure, no high and low blood sugar, none of that stuff, perfect circulation, then we can debate on who's right. Up until that moment, we need to work together to ensure the safety of everybody in this community, period. You don't have time to have petty differences be put on the table because those differences are not going to free us. You know, I ask the same 4 questions every week. What do we want? What do we need? How do we get it? And will it free us? Those are the only questions that need to be asked in the history of the Black community. What do we want? We want life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. What do we need? We need the ability to live a peaceful existence and build a community that we've built time and time again. Oh man, see, and then you get that guy or that person. We're gonna say that person that naysayer that says it's not gonna happen, but that's because they don't know the history of the community. Well, that's the way it used to be back in the day. Well, it's a reason it was like that back in the day, and it's not that way now. It's because we had disruptors, and because you see one of your uncles or one of your cousins, some of your homeboys, some of your homegirls, and you see a lot of foolishness on social media. That does not mean that is the community, because how many people in the community do you know that get up and go to work and bust their backs every day? A lot of us go into place of employment that we don't like, working 2 jobs that we don't like. So why would you believe that there's more people committing crime and doing nefarious activities than getting up, going to work? That's because the TV told you. That's what our social media told you. That's because they don't show you the tens of thousands of young people who are going to college at 14. The straight A students, the scholarshipers who have 200 and 300 different scholarship offers because of academic excellence, not athletic excellence, academic excellence. You don't see that, but you do see the young man with his pants hanging off his butt with no shirt on, acting a fool. I used to be that guy. I wasn't doing the no shirt thing, but I was acting a fool in the street at one point in my life. So I understand the fact that some people might be on the wrong path for a brief period of time. Do not hang that jacket on every young person. You know, these kids crazy. No, they're not. These kids are reacting the way you allowed them to be raised. Because if you grabbed your son or your niece or your son, daughter, niece, nephew, or cousin and then grab their friend acting a fool, it's potentially your fault. Because you need to talk to young people just the way they talk to you. You know, everybody Big Mama talked to every child in that neighborhood. Everybody. It wasn't no, hey man, I remember an instance when I was 22 years old and a friend asked me and the homie whose house we were at. We were at his grandmother's house. We were 22 years old, 21, 22 years old. It was in the middle of a snowstorm in 1992, I think. 1991, 92. He was like, hey man, I need y'all to make a run with him. We putting on our coats to make a run with him. This joker said he going to DC. And because we had this foolish man code in our head, we were going to go. And my man grandmother said, y'all can't go. And we were like, we sat down. We were like, yeah. But then he was like, that's not even your grandmother. I said, that's Miss Brown. And I was an underdog. So if you're not doing what your grandparents did, don't talk about these children, because you are part of the problem. If you're not part of the solution in a chaotic situation, you're part of the problem. And that's just the name of that tune. You don't have to agree with me, but you know I'm right. You know, we must love on our, you know, they say me and you are living on the prayers of our grandparents. So we need to start praying on these young people. We need to start communicating with these young people. Man, Big Illinois heard me talking to young people 7 days ago. I was sitting on my front porch. These young kids came around, got to act a fool. They started cutting up. I say, hey. And these young people stopped what they were doing listen to what I said, engage with me. Not one disrespectful word. They all engaged. We all left, and they all were respectful. Since that day, they all speak to me. So while you sitting up saying all these young people crazy, they're not. Sometimes you just need somebody to act like they actually care. Start talking to. I was talking to them. I wasn't talking at them. I was speaking to them as if they were young people, not young animals, because they're not young animals. I saw myself in a lot of them. Those young ladies and young men. None of them got smart with me. None of them said anything negative. None of them said anything bad. But back to the point. New Bern, Alabama. Mayor Braxton. He's the first black man in the history of this town. 85% black, and the white people are locking him out of the office. He is the chief of the volunteer fire department, and you got other people not even helping him. They locked him out. A woman died because he went to get the defibrillator, and they locked it into a room, and he had to go home to get his own personal defibrillator. By the time he got to the lady's house, she died. These white people don't want this man to be the mayor of their small town. They had, in the report I saw, it was a white woman that walked up to him when he was elected. I said, this town isn't ready for a black mayor. How in the entire hell are you not ready for a black mayor in a town that is 85% black? We ain't ready for white men. I'll tell you how they had the situation on lock. They never had an election. They were passing the mayor or the mayoral office down like it was a rite of passage. You be the mayor so many years, then your son be the mayor. And your son be the mayor, and his son be the mayor, so forth and so on. They were passing it around like a cold. But because we have allowed ourselves to be duped and believing that these people have total autonomy over everything in this country, we're not even ready to fight for it. There's no way 8 out of 10 people in this town are black. And they're going for this. It's because it's a mindset. Oh, well, we can't do anything, but you can do whatever you want to do. Hey, I'm not saying, hey, you really got to die for it, but guess what? You might have to in some instances. You mess with me and mine, I'm going to smile on my mugshot, or I lay on the ground. My old man, he not here because he was doing something in the street to do things and got hit in his head, and he's no longer here. Sometimes you might have to lay down your life. A lot of people always say, who's the next leader? You're it. Because you have to lead. You have to go no further than your grandparents' lineage. You have to be the leader like me. I'm the oldest Williams man in the city of Chicago. The oldest Williams. I'm the oldest man that's related to my father, grandfather, and mother that lives in my city. I'm the oldest. So I have to do certain things. And you have to be the person. You have to be that. And a lot of people are not willing to be that. So if you make sure just your last name is intact, it's easy. You're the leader, but you can be just the leader of your clan. And make sure your homeboy the leader of his clan, and your cousin the leader of his clan, and so forth and so on. That's how you fix the community. Instead of just having conversations about the Knicks and the Bulls and the Bears, start having conversations about what we're going to do next and how we're going to get our children properly educated. How we going to get our children properly educated. And that's what leads me to the next thing. Ron DeSantis in the state of Florida. He is attempting to pass a law that it's illegal to teach Black history in its true form. In its true form. You have white parents, the daughters of the Republic. This is a real group. I told y'all about it last week. The mothers of the Republic. It was the daughters of Confederate. It's the mother of the Republic. This is a true group that said that they don't want Black history taught in schools because it makes white people feel bad. So you think the fact that my people got their feet cut off, castrated, raped, so you think that's going to make my children feel good? You're going to think, oh, well, we don't want to talk about that because it makes us feel bad. It makes us look bad. What? I mean, it's all about perspective. The truth is the truth. No matter how ugly it is, it's still the truth. How about this for a piece of truth? I was talking to my man Morgan about this. You don't want to hear about Thomas Jefferson being a child molester and raping that young lady and dragging it throughout out to Europe and keeping his children enslaved. You don't want to hear about Andrew Jackson and him making the First Nation people move from the southeast and the portion of the country to the plains. That's called the Trail of Tears. You don't hear about that because that makes your ancestors look like animals. Well, what you think they teach in England about George Washington? You think George Washington is a hero in England, or is he Bin Laden over there? More than likely, he's Bin Laden over there. He overthrew England and created the United States. Remember, he the father of the country, right? Him and Thomas Jefferson and that crew, they had an uprising and they took this country and they destroyed over 300 tribes of people who are called Indians or Natives or First Nation people. He destroyed he overthrew one of the most powerful armies in the history of the world, the United Kingdom. Wonder how George Washington is written in history over there. See, look, at the end of the day, the truth must be told, and we must fight to get the truth told. We have to fight to get the truth told, because when the truth is told, then you'll realize you are sum total. I say this every week. You are a sum total of everybody and everybody in your family, good, bad, or indifferent. What you might perceive as bad, because what's the meaning of the crime? Is it stealing? But if it's at a crime scene, is it really a criminal act? See, once you break the rules, you can't reinstate the rules as you see fit. The United States have broken over 300 treaties with the people who are called natives. The United States of America, your government, have broken over 300 treaties with the people who are called Indians. So if they can break the rules, why can't you? Remember, it's a government of the people, by the people, for the people, right? So if it's of the people, by the people, for the people, at what point is what the government doing illegal and what you're doing is legal? Is it a crime to do whatever you have to do to make sure you'll survive? Is that a crime? I don't know. Am I advocating for stealing and robbing and killing? No, I'm not. I'm just saying, if you are in the midst of a crime, what they call that in court, what they taught me in my criminal justice class, that is fruit of the poisonous tree. Like, if you break the law, if you pull me over for no reason at all, that's illegal. If you search my car without my permission, that's illegal. So whatever you find in there, since you broke the law, it's no longer illegal. You can find 10,000 kilos. You can find 10 kilos of cocaine in my truck. And because you didn't do what you were supposed to do to get the authorization to go on my vehicle, and you pulled me over for no reason at all, guess what? I go home. So it's the fruit of the poisonous tree. So at what point, now you have to ask the question, what's the meaning of crime? You know, is it criminal robbing innocent people every time? And that's the things that we have to, this is the purpose of education. Look, just like the great Carter G. Woodson said in the Miseducation of the Negro, chapter 3, the very education that empowers the people who were former slave owners disempowers the people who were former enslaved. So if you're only going to teach me about how great Abraham Lincoln was, and you're only going to teach me how great Thomas Jefferson was, and Thomas Edison, and Theodore Roosevelt, and all these white men, you're going to tell me their flaws too. You have to tell me that Thomas Edison stole things from Granville Woods. You don't have to tell me that the United States federal government made it illegal for Granville Woods to have a patent, so he couldn't even take advantage of inventing the filament for the light that Thomas Edison gets credit for. Don't get upset with me because you stole it, but it needs to be told. My children needs to know everything that was done for them. That's why I talk to my children about my father. I talk to my children about my grandfather. I talk to children about my great grandmother, who's known as the Cotton Queen of Alabama. Yeah, I talk to my children about that. My children used to go to church with their mother. At the time, I wasn't active in the church, but every time they would come home, I would ask them what you learned in church today, and we would sit down and we would go through the map on the computer, and I would say, "See, this is what that is where you were. This is where Black people were," and let them know everything that's in that book that you're learning is a reflection of you. You know, and I would ask them questions like, ain't it awful strange that you have names like Ezekiel and Zebekiah and things of that nature, and all these Afrocentric, what we call Central America, Middle Eastern names, and then dudes who were hanging out with Jesus was John. That's a Euro name. Just put thought into it. I wasn't teaching my kids to hate anybody. I was teaching my kids to love themselves. And that's what we have to do with education. We didn't come from slaves. We came from people who were prisoners of war. And people who were enslaved, like I told you, etymology.com. Look up slave, you'd be shocked what the derivative is. Slavic, a European word. No, it's not. We're not slaves. We're not descendants of slaves. We're descendants of people who were here and Africans who were brought here, and we were forced into a situation. Prisoners of war. You have their caves in southern Illinois. Again, I'm referencing my state because I can only reference my state. There are caves in southern Illinois where you have documented proof that people were here 300 years in the state of Illinois, 300 years before Columbus was born. So don't tell me that the brothers and sisters use astronomy and that's how they got to Canada. Because if you've never, think about this, if you've never left the block that you were born on, how in the entire hell can you get all the way to Bangor, Maine, or Miami, Florida, or San Diego, California, or Seattle, Washington? You're not going to be able to get there. Or Windsor, Canada, right outside of Detroit, or Toronto, Canada, right outside of New York. How you going to get there from how Harriet Tubman go from Maryland to Philadelphia? Because it was people in her family who were here before this enslavement period, or what I would like to call the Dark Ages, because everybody had a Dark Age. Europeans had a Dark Age. That's when your girl Marie Antoinette had people invent lipstick because her teeth was jacked up and she wanted people to focus on her lips. That's when people were taking baths in Europe 2 times a year. And the Moors came in and taught them about how to wash their bodies. And don't live with livestock and things of that nature. You don't want ticks on your body. See, these are the things that history teaches you. And it's not a disparaging thing against any community. It shows how, as the human race works together, it enhances the entire culture, not just denigrates. And that's the way it should be. And that's the way it is. See, but we've been taught that if I identify a flaw in you, I'm hating, I'm disrespecting you, I'm making you feel bad. Well, you should only feel bad if you reject what's quality. See, I'm going to say this again. Human beings are the only thing on this planet that need each other to flourish. Puppies, kittens, babies. You get a puppy, a kitten, and a baby, you sit them in the woods, the puppy will bark. The kitten will meow. The baby will be confused. You sit them in a den of monkeys, just to pry, a whole den of monkeys or apes or gorillas or whatever you want to sit them with. That kitten is going to grow up and be a cat and chase mice and meow and lick himself like a traditional cat. That dog is going to bark. He's going to chase the kitten. He's going to be overzealous in his behavior, jumping on everything just like a traditional dog would. That baby is going to try to be a monkey because we need each other to be the best we can be. So when you isolate yourself, you take yourself out of the development. That's why when you isolate yourself, you don't have somebody pointing at you, letting you know that what you're doing is wrong. This is how you can improve yourself. This is how you can bathe. This is how you can read. 2% of Europe was reading at that point. That's why you can tell people whatever the Bible said, I can use mind control. 2% of the population is reading, but when you go to other continents, more people are reading. That's how public school was created here in the United States of America, because after the Great Emancipation, after the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments were signed, Black people went going like 40 going north, teaching young children how to read because they understood the powers in information. So when they saw Black people teaching their children how to read, and we were reading at a 98% clip, because everybody's not going to do everything is not for everybody. When they saw us reading at a 98% clip, white folks started saying, I want to read too. This is the birth of public schools. See, you don't learn those things in school. You don't learn these things in school. You don't learn simple things like the Ring doorbell. That is an invention that comes from a Black woman who created the camera because she didn't want to get ambushed. the remote control, the walkie-talkie, things of this nature. The video game cartridge was invented by a black man. You found out in the movie the sisters did the math to get these people to the moon, allegedly. But wasn't that the hoax was created by the math created by some black women. And these are the things that we need to be taught. So Ron DeSantis, that was not a Freudian slip. I said that purposely. But Ron DeSantis, he wants to do away with that power, because when you realize how powerful you are, you'll start doing powerful things. Your confidence will be to the point where even when you fail, it's not a fail. Like me, I don't fail. I learn. You look, this has been my mentality. I learned this from my grandfather. You don't fail. You either stand still or you move forward. What people call failure is I'm staying here until I get it right, and then I'm moving. But even when you don't stand still, I've taken it even further. Even when you think you're standing still, you're not standing still, because you're moving forward, because you got the information to help yourself move forward. So Ron DeSantis does not want us knowing these things, because when you know these things, you'll work together. You work together, you move forward. You become stronger. When you become stronger, you become undefeatable. You can even look at the fight we saw this weekend, Errol Spence and our brother Terrence Crawford, two brothers, Terrence Crawford. Errol Spence knew how to fight one way. He knows how to fight one way. In your face, you can't hurt me. You cannot hurt me. But Bud Crawford understands angles, different points of attack, and I have to do things in a different way. Errol Spence had a lesson learned this week. So now the next time you see Errol Spence, he's going to be moving his head more. He's not going to go straight at somebody. He's going to come at angles, and potentially it'll be a better fight. And Bud Crawford understands that. Something else you realize is Bud Crawford is a lot stronger than you thought he was. Go back to this. If you get a chance, go back to the second round of the fight. They lock up. And when they lock up, Bud pushes him off. And he showed the world, me personally, I think he won the fight in the moment that he pushed Spence up off of him, because at that moment, he showed the world, I'm stronger than this dude. Now, he might not. They might be mentally. See, that's when it's a mental and physical strength. Mentally, he was strong at that point. Physically, he showed he was, and that demoralized him, if you ask me, because he never had anybody push him up off him like that. He's always been a mule. You can't get Errol Spence up off you, and if you hit him, he's not gonna fold. But just like anything else, if you keep hitting something, it's gonna fold. It's gonna fall, and that's what's going on with the black community. We keep hitting, and then we haven't fallen yet, because they've tried it, and we've shown them time and time again. You want to know why the discrimination takes place? Because look at everything. This is why they don't want you to know your history. This is why DeSantis and people like Trump and people like my man Hot Wheels over in Texas, Governor Greg Abbott, this is why they don't want you to know your history, because they want you to know that when you had a guy stand up in 1965, we killed him. His name was Malcolm X. Look, we can go back even further. You had a guy named Marcus Garvey. We ran him out of the country. And then you had a guy named Malcolm X. We killed him. And you had another guy by the name of Medgar Evers. We killed him. He had another guy by the name of Malcolm X. We killed him. He had another guy by the name of Fred Hampton. We killed him. And then he had a guy by the name of Bobby Seals and Huey P. Newton. We killed Huey. And that's what they want you to know. Stand up, die. Stand up, die. Stand up, die. Stand up, die. That's the reoccurring thing, and what the people that they prop up as our heroes. But it's a lot of our heroes that are still walking the earth to this day, but you don't know about them. And Ron DeSantis is doing everything he can that you don't know about them. You don't know. Most people don't know who Carter G. Woodson is. I live in Chicago, Illinois. One of the most popular. At the school that everybody wants their children to go to is the school by the name of Whitney Young. It was his birthday yesterday. And most of us don't even know it's a black man. Most of us don't know that Whitney Young is a black man who was the backbone of the civil rights movement, but you don't know about him. You don't know about A.R. King, Martin Luther King's brother, who died. He was an excellent swimmer. He died in a swimming accident. Whitney Young died drowning to another excellent swimmer. So it's amazing, isn't it? But see, These are the things that people don't want you to understand. Fannie Lou Hamer, who was born a sharecropper, had to learn how to read so she can vote. So when people tell you, well, people died so you can vote. No, people didn't die so you can vote. People died so you had a right to control your community. Because while you focus on the president of the United States and voting for him, you need to be voting for the sheriff, because the sheriff is the dude who's going to run in your house and control what's going on in your house. The state's attorney is the reason your son got charged instead of getting probation. The judges are the reason your son doing 6 to 30 instead of 1 to 6. Or he can do away with those statutes, and he can say, hey, we're going to give you supervision. And if you complete the supervision, it's going to be expunged for your record and not ruin your life. See, these are the things that we need to be concerned with, because the president of the United States is not going to help you in Chicago, Illinois. It's not going to help you in Jersey. It's not going to help you in Fulton County. It's not going to help you in Dallas County. It's not going to help you throughout the United States of America. He is the top of the food chain. You need to be worried about who your mayor is, things of that nature, filling out the census, making sure you're engaged, involved. Because if you're not doing those things will jump up and bite you in the behind. And that's just the way it is. That's the way it is, folks. There's no way around it. So education, while you think the education in Florida is not hurting, that's Ron DeSantis in Florida. Hey, what's the dude? I forgot the clown who the governor of Illinois. Kenny Pritzker. Pritzker, the mayor. Why are we worried about him? Because guess what? You see it happen in Florida, then it'll happen in Texas. Why is it important in Texas? Because Texas is the biggest state in regards to land mass in the United States of America. That means they buy more books or whatever. That means they print the books. And if they're printing the books and they're printing lies like they told you like 10 years ago, like six to 8 years ago, they said they called our enslaved ancestors migrant workers. See, if you print a lie and tell a lie, it becomes the truth. If you tell it enough time, you put it in the book, it becomes the truth. We don't want to talk about what happened to black people. We will talk about what black people did in retaliation. So we're not going to talk about the fact that you burned down Rosewood. We're going to talk about the 9 white people that you killed while you were fighting back in Rosewood. But we're not going to tell you why. We're going to talk about the bus boycott, but we're not going to talk about why you had to boycott the bus. You know, these are the things that, it's just simple things like this that makes you a victim of circumstances instead of a powerful person that you know you could be and are. Another thing, as I get ready to wrap up, we must stop submitting to having conversations. Remember I said last week, I said, why are we subjecting ourselves to people who are not on our level? The homeboy Ice Cube. Ice Cube sat down and had a conversation with Tucker Carlson. Why is Ice Cube having a conversation with Tucker Carlson? He actually lied. He's such a liar that he was caught. And the reason he was terminated from Fox is because he was caught saying, I don't like Trump. I don't support none of his policies, but he go on TV every night and he support the policies. How was he able to do that? This is media. No, because Fox literally fought in court. They said Fox News is just a moniker. That's theater. That's not what we're not reporting news. We're just giving a theatrical performance of the news. So they were allowed to continue to lie. And then this is a dude who told a lie in the midst of talking to Ice Cube. He said, oh, no, I ain't get the vaccine, because they were talking about the vaccine. Cube said he wasn't going to take the vaccine. That's a choice, man. I don't have a heaven and hell to put you in. I don't have a judgment towards you for not taking the vaccine. That's cool, man. If you didn't think it was good for you, man, don't take it again, man. Don't take the boosters. Don't do none of that. If you don't think it's good for you, that's good. I ain't got no judgment for you. But when you're sitting there talking to a man who couldn't enter the Fox News building without being vaccinated, he's told you a bald-faced, butt-naked lie that he didn't get the vaccine. That's when I have a problem. See, these are the things. See, when we're sitting down talking to liars, the lying liars who lie, and then we validate them in our community, because you got people who only see a segment of it and say, hey, if Ice Cube talks to him, he can't be that bad. But you're talking, this dude go from boys in the hood to hanging out with boys with hoods. They had him take a shot at Vice President Kamala Harris. She's not doing her job. Please, somebody, in the history of the world, tell me what the hell that any vice president has ever done that's of substance. Any vice president, give me one thing that the vice president has ever done. I've never heard anything. People talk about Kamala Harris not doing what she's supposed to do. What is the vice president supposed to do? She the parachute, man. What is the vice president? But when the sister get in there, now we need to know what the vice president is doing. Oh, Obama didn't do this. Well, Obama did a lot of things. Look, could he have done more? I think he could have. But I'm not going to sit around and excoriate him because he did exactly what the other 47 presidents did before him. He did what the first 40. So how is he different? So we're going to hold Obama feet to the fire, but we ain't never held. We hold Kennedy feet to the fire. We hold Johnson feet to the fire. We hold Nixon feet to the fire. We hold Ford feet to the fire. We hold Carter feet to the fire. We hold Reagan feet to the fire. We hold Bush. Look, we had a whole 80s. Everybody loved to talk about this crack epidemic. You know, we call it R&B, the Reagan and Bush era. The whole 1980 to 1992, R&B, the Reagan and Bush era. And we ain't hold that feet to the fire. These dudes are putting cocaine in our streets. You got Oliver North that did do 1 day of jail, and he openly admitted on national television that he was part of putting dope in the streets in Illinois, in California, in New York, in Florida, in Georgia, every place else in between. And he didn't even do a day in jail. But we gonna hold Obama feet to the fire all of a sudden. But he had him excoriate, but he didn't say one bad word about it. They homeboy. You got to do. Everybody always talking about, oh man, well, when Trump was in office, the gas wasn't that expensive. When Trump was in office, you had a group of white people try to storm the Capitol and take over the government. When Trump was in office, he put 3 people on the Supreme Court, and now you can't go get an abortion if you want one. When Trump was off, he put people that did away with affirmative action. Those are Trump appointees. And then you got people so foolish. Oh, well, not all white people are like that. Well, you got a Trump-appointed state's attorney, Trump-appointed judge, Trump-appointed witnesses saying that he committed all these atrocities. And you got people on the other side saying they're just picking on him. See, it's whatever's against us is cool, and whatever's against you is not. How is it that O.J. Simpson is the poster boy for domestic violence, and Robert Blake, his wife, got shot in her head in broad daylight in the streets of L.A.? We don't talk about Robert Blake, but we focus on O.J. We focus on R. Kelly, but we don't talk about Phil Spector. We don't talk about Jerry Sandusky. How many young men did Jerry Sandusky molest? You have football players who played for the Raiders who said he told his father, who was also assistant coach, mediocre football players who end up getting to the league because he saw Jerry Sandusky sodomize a boy. How many people did that man sodomize? You got Sinead O'Connor, who died last week, who tore up the picture of the Pope on Saturday Night Live, and her career almost came to an end. But don't nobody talk about Pope John Paul II, who allowed bishops and priests to molest little boys for decades. And don't nobody talk about that, but you can talk about R. Kelly, though. You can talk about Bill Cosby. You can talk about O.J. Simpson. And are they guilty? I don't know. I wasn't there, man. I ain't hold a light on. I ain't seen them rape nobody. I don't understand. I wasn't there. Is it possible? Of course it's possible. Am I excusing any of their behavior? Most definitely. Because had it been my daughter, nobody goes to court, and I'm smiling on my mugshot. My mugshot like this. My daughter knows he'd kill a brick for me. So, we can do all this hemming and hawing and making excuses for people, but at the end of the day, it always falls back on the Black community. We can complain, or we can do something about it. We can call people names, or we can do something about it. What can we do? We can withdraw. We can resegregate. Again, as I said 25 minutes ago, it's enough people in this community that we can support everything we do. You come out, my man Kevin Foots, he got mild sauce. He got some barbecue sauce. If everybody in this community bought one bottle, he's straight for life. If everybody in this community tuned in to me, Roland Martin, Phil Scott, Lord Jamar, Godfrey, and other people who are putting out positive messages, Zoe Williams, Just imagine if I had 400,000 listeners a week. You know how much more information I can get to you. I wouldn't have to do anything but look for information to enhance my community. I have a couple ideas. Get at me, Tyler Perry. I got a couple ideas that I'm working on. I'm writing out a business proposal as we speak. I got some people that I'm going to be sitting in front of soon. But we have enough people in this community to fix everything that's wrong in this community. Have you ever thought about, you know, how people they get killed in the street, and we do a GoFundMe and make sure that person is buried? When we do a GoFundMe for Flint, make sure they got the water. Then we do a GoFundMe for Mississippi so they get clean water. Then we do a GoFundMe for Jersey so they can get clean water. Because those 3 places I know that they got the jacked up water. It's more, but I'm just saying. Just imagine 60 million people put up $60 each. I'm just saying. There's ways around this. We don't have to wait on this fictitious boogeyman to come save us. We can get up off our behinds and get things done. We don't have to wait. And lately, I've been adding sports to my show, and I'm going to do it tonight. Sports. I forgot this dude's name. He's a soccer player. He left Major League Soccer, and he went over to the Saudis. The Saudis gave this young man $700 million for one season. $700 million. That's almost $750 million for one season. You know what I didn't see? I didn't see people in Major League Soccer saying he's a sellout trader and a chump. You know, like when LeBron James took his wares to Miami and did what he had to do to make more money and have less work. This dude left a whole soccer league and is playing with inferior players because he wanted that $700 million. Anybody complaining? No, because they realize he's at work. And $700 million makes one hell of a difference in life. See, y'all thinking about leagues and loyalty. There's no such thing as loyalty in sports. If it was anything that resembled loyalty, Jonathan Taylor for the Indianapolis Colts, Josh Jacobs for the Las Vegas Raiders, Saquon Barkley wouldn't be playing for $11 million. My man Chubbs wouldn't be scraping for his money in a minute in Cleveland. There's no loyalty. It's about how much money you can get in your pocket versus how much money I can get in my pocket. Oh, well, we need to protect the quarterback. It's a running league. But every year, the team with the best running game wins the Super Bowl. But the running back, what they're a dime a dozen. I showed y'all a couple of weeks ago. I gave y'all a list of players. Gave y'all a list of people. It's been less than, it's 32 teams in the National Football League. It's been less than 32 franchise backs over the last 35 years. And the last, I'm 53, so we're gonna go 55 years. In the Super Bowl era, it's been less than 32 franchise running backs. So running backs have always been a dime a dozen, but I just don't want to continue to enhance these black people's community because, yeah, you saw 2 days ago why LeBron James was villainized. LeBron James was turned into a villain about 13 years ago when he said, I'm taking my talents to South Beach because he took control of his future. And he no longer allowed the people in the driver's seat to tell him what he could and could not do. He said, this is my future. I'm going to do with it as I see fit. And they made him a villain because of Jaylen Brown, because they didn't want 10 to 15 Jaylen Browns. Because if he can do this at $100 million, what happens when it goes up to $300 million and Jaylen Brown sits on TV and says, I'm going to recreate Black Wall Street? He didn't say, I'm going to make it cool for y'all. He said, I'm doing this for me and mine. And that's what the fear was. That's why you hate LeBron James. That's why they made Skip Bayless a superstar. That's why it's Jordan versus LeBron. Because I've yet to hear Mickey Mantle versus, I never hear Mickey Mantle versus anybody. You don't hear Mickey Mantle versus Joe DiMaggio, Mickey Mantle versus the Iron Horse, Lou Gehrig. You don't hear all Johnny Bench versus Mike Piazza. You don't hear all this. Larry Bird versus Rick Barry, Dirk Nowitzki versus Djokovic. You don't hear all this. But when it comes to us, we must denigrate one of our people and uplift the other instead of just uplifting them both. Guess what? 3 of the best players we've ever seen play in our life, LeBron James, Kobe Bryant, and Michael Jordan. It don't make a difference who's better. You know who's better? We're better because we took 3 hours a night for a whole bunch of nights. We had an opportunity to see 3 of the best people ever play. Why ain't nobody ever said who better, Magic Johnson or Larry Bird? You know why? Because Magic Johnson won more than Larry Bird. That's why. And he played a major role in it. So if it's about championships, then that means Magic Johnson better than Bird, but you always keep Bird up there. I wonder why. But y'all fell for the banana in the tailpipe. We excoriate our heroes. We disrespect our heroes. And meanwhile, our hero, LeBron James, inspired a dude like Jaylen Brown. See, no disrespect to our brother Michael Jordan, but see, Jordan, he don't want everybody to know that he doing philanthropic endeavors. He ain't like LeBron. I'm not saying he right or wrong, but I am saying this. Why wouldn't you want to inspire your younger brothers to do the stuff that you're doing as well? Because imagine, Michael Jordan had the same mentality as LeBron James. By the time LeBron James comes along, Isaiah Thomas, Charles Barkley, Patrick Ewing, and so forth, so on. They've been doing these things, and we may not be in the situation we're in now. So I bring this up to say this. Our favorite athletes are at work, and it's a job. Their job is to entertain us, and we can argue about who's the best. And it should be. We should yell and scream at each other, have a good old time like we always do. Shut up! You don't know what you're talking about. That's why your team sucks. Da 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 da. But it never ever has to be a denigrating of any brothers that's playing these games. I watched the show this weekend, and for 6 straight months, I heard Lamar Jackson should just take the money that they are offering him. Lamar Jackson won a league MVP. Lamar Jackson was in 2 competitive playoff games. He was in a playoff. He had a playoff victory. He's never had the proper weapons around him. And then this white boy for the San Diego Chargers lost a 27-point lead, ain't won no MVPs, ain't won no playoff games, ain't done nothing. And these brothers said it was the coach's fault. Oh, yeah, he got 2 big-time wide receivers. He got a solid tight end. He got a good running game. But the coach is stupid. But Lamar Jackson must be playing with Vince Lombardi or something. No, he not. Is he playing for Bill Parcells? No, he not. He's playing for an average, mediocre coach. But Lamar should have accepted what he was going to get. And this boy, he's going to be good one day. All he has to do is live up to it. Knock it off. See, they don't have to kick us in the behind anymore. We on autopilot. We are on autopilot. We standing in front of the ass-kicking machine, feeding it quarters, wondering why our ass is red like them baboons. That's what we're doing, folks. That's what we're doing. Because we can find flaw in us, but we refuse to find flaw in everybody else. And until we start finding flaw in everybody else, they ain't got to find flaw in us because see, that's what's wrong with us. What's wrong with us is we don't give each other a fair chance. With that being said, as usual, I want to thank each and every one of you for tuning in. It's been great. I know I was a little droll today, but it was just on my mind. I didn't have a whole lot of information to give you. I just had a lot on my mind, so I shared it with you. I want to salute the people that give me inspiration. That's the Ghetto Boys, Scarface and Willie D, Tariq Nasheed, Nori, Talib, Kweli, Ray Grady, Corey Holcomb, Craig Smith from Craig Facts. You know Marcus. I'm giving Marcus some love. Sway Calloway, Roland Martin, Al Sharpton, Heather B, the spiritual one, Clay Kane, super dope brother. My favorite radio personality in history of the world, Larry Daniel Favors. Dr. Greg Cobb, one of the most informed people I've ever come in contact with. Karen Hunter, the chief, the Harriet Tubman, the Fannie Lou Hamer of the day. Sigourney Truth. Shirley Chisholm, she all in one. She encompasses it all. She's just a superwoman. And Joe Madison, he the dean of Black Talklandia. He the president of Black Talklandia. And I'm a citizen. And so are you. With that being said, get ready. The Chief Seats are coming. Me, Big Mo, Nino. It is the Chief Seats where culture meets conversation. We're going to talk about everything I talk about and more. I want to thank you guys for tuning in. And you already know, I'm going to change it this week. I'm going to use the Combat Jack. Dream your dreams and man up and woman up and live your dreams. Because life without dreams flows in black and white. Life with dreams flows in technicolor surround sound. I'm going to change it at the end, though, this week. This weekend, I had a tragedy in my extended family. One of my homeboys, his dad died a week ago. Saturday was his dad's services. His mom, before they closed the coffin, went to the coffin to touch her husband of 50 years one more time. She touched her husband, had a heart attack, and died. I'm going to take this time to send prayers to the Johnson family. That's my man Ernest Johnson. God rest both his parents' soul, and prayers go out to my man Ern. And I want to tell you guys, man, if you got people in your family that you love, that you haven't talked to, give them a call, reach out, send a text, do something, because tomorrow is not guaranteed. So I'll see y'all in 168 hours. The Chief Seats are coming soon. And as usual, Big Mo, take us up out of here.
We lust for that cheese, we lose sleep, dreams of that cream. We killing our teens, they dying for this American dream. Them government schemes, they turning us to hustlers and fiends. We hustling trees, them politicians smuggling green. Chasing that cheese, got everybody stressed in the streets. Pardon me for speaking freely, let it breathe. Evangelists preach the congregations out of their seats. They writing them checks for tithes, now it's people can't eat. She stripping for change for school, now she giving them brain. She used to that loot, she earning, now she giving them strain. He new to this game, but hungry, so he cooking his cane. He getting that paper, but then they gave him two to the brain. It's rules to this game, but hustlers never hustle for fame. The spirit of greed is grimy, so we struggle to change. They put us in chains to take away our African names. But if we submissive and don't resist, then who do we blame? It's all a game, man, these Europeans staking they claim. And you a victim of their game plan, you thinking they ain't. You thinking they saints, remember all them niggas they hang. Killed our women and our children, all our leaders is slain. They gave us Obama, but that nigga was hoping for change. But Zimmerman is killing niggas, ain't he free? Shit is crazy, babies having these babies and getting checked. But keep the child from they pop to rip his heart out his chest. Our rappers was leaders and now they in the booth in the dress. Spitting bullshit and making more but giving us less. They taking our sound and changing ours, dumbing it down. They taking our jobs and homes and they shutting us out. They taking our kids because it ain't a man in the house. They locking us down, but soon they gon' be wiping us out. They told our women they was too independent to need a man. They told our brother he was too insignificant to advance. It's all a game, man, these Europeans staking they claim. And you a victim of their game plan, you thinking they ain't. You thinking they saints, remember all them niggas they hang. Killed our women and our children, all our leaders is slain. It's all a game. We lust for that cheese, we lose sleep, dreams of that cream. We killing our teens, they dying for this American dream.